Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Futurum Tech Webcast. I'm your host, Ron Westfall, Research Director and Senior Analyst, Futurum Research. And in this episode, we're going to talk about hot topics, including private networks. We're also going to talk about 5G's role across industrial networks. And we're going to talk about why partnerships and collaboration are key to driving 5G private networks and so much more. Joining us today is what I regard as an all-star lineup, consisting of Olivier Coutelou, Schneider Electric, Fotis Karonis, Capgemini, and George Tsirtsis, Qualcomm. Gentlemen, thanks so much for joining us today. And let's go to our introductions, starting with you, Olivier.
Hello, everybody. So Olivier Coutelou, working at Schneider Electric as an innovation project manager. And at the time, I'm in charge of the 5G exploration for industrial automation.
Thank you, Olivier. And now, Fotis, tell us about yourself and how you came to join Capgemini.
Yeah, hello, Ron. Thank you for the invitation. Hello, everybody. So my name is Fotis Karonis. I am the Capgemini group leader for 5G and edge computing. Very pleased because it's a game changer for the intelligent industry. Prior to that, I was in many years in the telco industry as a CTIO for in mobile for EE, the biggest mobile company in the UK, and launching 4G and 5G networks. Really great fun. And now the opportunities. What do we do with those networks? How do we ensure that we create incredible change and opportunities for the industries, but also for the society as a whole?
Wonderful, Fotis. Thank you. And George, tell us about yourself and how you came to join the Qualcomm team.
Yes, hi. Thank you, Ron. So this is great. This is George Tsirtsis. I'm Senior Director of Technology in Qualcomm Europe. I represent 5G products of Qualcomm in the European region. I've been in Qualcomm for quite a few years with R&D background. And more recently, in the last few years, I have been overseeing 5G deployment of mobile networks in Europe. But now, more recently, in the last couple of years, I'm looking into verticals like private networks, which is what we're talking about today. So looking forward to it.
Excellent. I believe we all are. And so let's jump right in. And let's start with you, Olivier. And I think folks out there would really like to know if you can please describe Schneider Electric activities as they relate to the industrial automation of hoisting systems.
Yes. So innovation is in Schneider Electric DNA, which enables to develop disruptive solutions, and hoisting is one of them since several decades. We deploy our integrated autonomous crane system in harbor, nuclear plant, and steel factories for cold coils products and steel hot products. Our system improves productivity and reduces costs in harsh environment. To support this innovation in the hoisting domain, we have set up in Grenoble, France, an hoisting lab duplicating full hoisting application and helping to test and validate new solutions and system improvements.
Very good, Olivier. And that's very helpful and insightful. And that tees up my next question. Now, can you explain in simple terms how the current hoisting products run and how the connectivity is involved and what are the improvement paths out there?
Of course, yes. An autonomous hoisting system is traveling on 3 axes. The beam is moving on the x-axis, the trolley is moving on the y-axis, and the hoisting tool is moving on the z-axis. So the automation system is located on the beam. So it's moving with respect to the floor. So wireless communication is required between SCADA and PLC on the floor and automation system on the beam. This is done today with Wi-Fi for the control. We have a first challenge connectivity challenge. On such autonomous cranes, sometimes for special operation, it's required to take manually the control of the crane from the control room. An operator pilots the crane from the control room, and he looks at the scene on a display in the control room. The global latency from the joystick for control to the image on the screen must be below 500 milliseconds to be acceptable. It's not possible with standard Wi-Fi IP camera, and so it requires to use proprietary non-IP wireless solution, unfortunately occupying very large RF bandwidth. Consequently, the number of cranes working in parallel is limited to 3. So this is a first problem we have. We have a second connectivity challenge. There are a lot of communication between the automation system on the beam and the remote IOs on the trolley. So it's moving. So this is done today with an optical fiber in a festoon. The risk to break optical fiber is high, and it occurs sometimes. This requires costly maintenance operations. That's why we decided to invest in 5G for the hoisting with Capgemini and Qualcomm.
Thank you, Olivier. And that, I think, is an opportunity to now turn to George. And George, so how did 5G address these limitations that Olivier touched on, particularly in the proof of concept at Schneider Electric premises?
Okay, very good. So 5G fundamentally is designed to replace all the communication systems that are used in a system like this. Wireless, proprietary wireless, or standard wireless, or wired connections that can all be replaced by a single 5G private network. It is one network to rule them all, if you like. So what did we do in this particular case? Is that we deployed the Ethernet 5G core system, AirSpan small cells. AirSpan is, of course, a Qualcomm customer. They use our FSM 100 chipset platform for the small cells they put together, which in this case, we used the N77 spectrum, 3.8 gigahertz. And we combined that with industrial gateways and 5G IP cameras from our devices ecosystem. Now, the first thing we did with this collection of technology is that we replaced all the wireless links that Schneider Electric was using before. So the Wi-Fi, including also the unlicensed proprietary system Olivier referred to. And now we're working on additional flows that are currently using optical fibers. The most important one of those, I would say, is the PLC flow. This is a control flow that is used to connect a joystick for the remote control of the crane operation itself. And this kind of flow is very important because it is used all over the industrial floor. It has many uses, many different variations on it, and the ability to run this kind of flow over 5G network, over a private network, solving all the VLAN peculiarities of it, the IP addressing problem that it introduces. All these things are very important and now in our toolkit, if you like, for solving these kinds of problems. So essentially what we managed to do is that to prove that we can retrofit a 5G private network into existing industrial automation use cases like crane control, importantly, without having to change the architecture of the industrial automation system that is already productized by Schneider Electric.
That's vast improvement over the legacy implementation. And so that, I think, brings up a key question, and that is, what is Qualcomm's strategy as it relates to 5G for industries, and why is it so important to collaborate with an industrial actor as well as a global integrator?
Yeah, very, very good question. So collaboration with very important players like Capgemini on the system integration side, and of course Schneider Electric as a leading customer are super important at this stage of 5G private network evolution. Maybe the first thing to say about this is that the 5G private networks are relatively new. We have, as an industry, we have been talking about them for a long time. They have been deployed a little bit now, but they are still at an early stage. And in fact, there is a lot of innovation that needs to come through, and a lot of very industry-specific and private network-specific features that we will see coming out of the ecosystem. And here I'm referring to things like Ethernet PDU, time synchronous networks, positioning, even aspects of slicing and ultra reliable low latency communications. Again, these are terms that we have been talking about for a long time, but now they are coming they're becoming a reality, and they need to come into the market for a private network. So for us, it's very important to understand what are the mechanics of this and how this will take place. Now, the other important thing for Qualcomm is that we are very big believers of the horizontal ecosystem. Fundamentally, we supply technology to many OEMs who develop products for the market. And so we believe in this horizontal play, and we believe that the end customer needs to have choice in terms of 5G core, small cells, and of course, the device ecosystem. So to bring these things together, we're doing two very specific things. First, on the ecosystem creation. Over a year now ago, we put together a partnership program in which we bring to our labs our customer implementations of small cells, and we test them extensively with 5G core implementations from partners. And of course, we do that with the end device ecosystem that we also have access to. Now, we do this fundamentally and at the basic level to make sure that the 5G connectivity works at a very good performance out of the box when you combine these implementations. But at the same time, since we have all this in our labs, it becomes a natural way for introducing new technologies as they come out of our development and our partners' development. So that's the ecosystem play. At the same time, we have identified what we think is an important gap in the market in terms of RAN automation. So we are introducing a new product to the market. It's called Edgewise. It's a software as a service platform that allows the automation and operation of networks, of private networks, in a multi-site way, and also being compatible with multiple RAN implementations. And this kind of platform, we were able to showcase it in MWC earlier in the year. We ran it in our own booth, but also in Capgemini booth, where you could monitor from there private networks, live private networks in the US and Europe, including one in Portugal by Capgemini. So if you so this is the two pieces of the puzzle: ecosystem and the RAN automation platform that we think is very important for scaling these networks. And so if you like, in summary, we're trying to create a virtual circle of feature development, testing, and preparation for the market, and then working with system integrators and customers to bring this to realization.
Thank you, George. I believe automation and an ecosystem approach are essential. And I think this now provides us an opportunity to turn to the third member of our power trio, Fotis. And Fotis, can you now describe the different milestones of the project? I know folks out there would be very interested in that.
Sure. So first of all, it's a really exciting project. It's a very complex environment, and that makes even more exciting the potential of bringing innovation and with the 5G private network and creating the first use cases, for the integrated autonomous crane system with Schneider and Qualcomm. A great experience. So the first phase was in a couple of months actually to quickly align on the strategy then define the goal definition, align on the objectives of the project, what we're trying to achieve, the project roadmap, and the methodology. And the purpose is that we wanted to, as George said and Olivier, to make sure that we can, first of all, prove the capabilities of the 5G as a sound, reliable technology to provide all those data flows, the control flows, the video flows through the same, wireless media, if I may call it, and technology, and then add the use cases. And it is really great as we align very quickly. And then we set up a testing environment of the 5G private network first at our labs, our 5G labs of Capgemini. It is I would say, a pre-integrated, disaggregated multi-vendor environment to the point that it's bringing a radio capability with a different core vendor capability, packaging, so that all the interfaces are working, as really well together. And then once we did that, we moved that at the Schneider Electric premises to test all the 5G capabilities and adding value to the integrated autonomous crane system of Schneider. So that was the whole setup, right? To bring it, to test it before that, bring it into the Schneider environment and test it on that sort of replica of the crane system, if I may call it. And it went really, really well. I mean, a team play. This is, as George said previously, it's a horizontal ecosystem. We tested it all together in intense weeks, and we collected so much data and learnings, right? And as we speak, we're actually still unpacking the learnings, but the results were absolutely great. And the opportunity is that as we apply that into an autonomous crane system for Schneider, Schneider can be then in a position to apply it at scale in their end client environment, as we talked about, the steel manufacturers or ports, or and then also ensure that it is a platform, the 5G private network, for other types of products for the Schneider Group. And therefore now we are in that phase of bringing it into the client environments. What I just have to add is that during the whole process of design, build, and run, we also took some very complementary activities around sustainability. And Capgemini and Schneider decided to say, look, we can do some checks and what is the model for understanding the assessment of the overall environmental impact using 5G for the industrial, the autonomous crane systems, etc. So we defined also a sustainability assessment methodology when it comes to seeing the whole, the total environment of it, and taking into consideration, of course, the security, but also the sustainability by design.
That's wonderful. And that's, exactly, I think, so compelling that, and now it brings up the question, what is 5G really bringing to the industrial market? And, what is Capgemini's strategy in this ecosystem?
Yeah, absolutely. So first of all, I mean, 5G is a real game changer for, for the industries, right? It is defined in order to resolve the bigger issues of industry, right? 4G, all that is a really fantastic foundation. And launching with consumers and giving all these new video experiences. But the opportunity with 5G now is actually how do we scale those use cases in an industry environment? So until now, most enterprises, we use fixed line networks, especially in these heavy manufacturing plants or warehouses where we need low latency, high reliability for mission critical applications. Today, it's different because we need flexibility on the shop floor. We need production reconfiguration and layout changes. And that cannot be possible with cables, right? You cannot change production lines with, and then re-establishing all these connections or bringing new IoT with cables and so on. So although, the fiber and all that, is really reliable, but you need the flexibility, you need the reliability, you need the low latency. And that is absolutely 5G ticking all those boxes, right? So for us, it is a real game changer for trusting and getting the basics right for the communication, the connectivity, but also then adding all the new use cases on the top that were never there. So first of all, at Capgemini, we believe the future of industry is intelligent. What we call intelligent industry is empowered by advanced connectivity, bringing together cloud technologies, AI, all these new technologies, IoT, in order to create digital transformation, right? And all these industries are now the DNA is connectivity. And therefore, to transform these industries, we need a vast amount of data, and processes in order to make them more efficient, more cost efficient, more agile in the production lines, and more intelligent products coming out. So that's what we call intelligent industry, and it's actually to redefine all these new processes. How do we digitize them and create a industry that is much more forward-looking, innovative, and faster in the deployment of products. Now, for us, 5G and Edge are strong enablers. It's not the end game, but it's a fantastic accelerator moving towards the digital economy, right? And Capgemini is a partner beyond being an SI. We're not anymore being perceived as a system integrator for IT systems, but we actually connect the IT world with the OT world, with the operational technologies and the networks to create digital transformation. So we see ourselves as partners of those industries in the journey of digital transformation process. And that's what we are really differentiated. We have over 20,000 people working across the world in advanced connectivity topics around the globe. So we believe that the 5G private networks play a very strong role in industry, and we collaborate in an open, sort of ecosystem play from the devices, software, cloud, etc. So it's a very strong ecosystem play. We have great collaboration with Schneider, Qualcomm, and the ecosystem to drive this new world, bringing innovation and bringing the overarching use cases to the party.
I love it. I think that's just great. And thank you, Fotis. And I think this is now an opportunity to go back to you, Olivier, and also look at what are next steps and what are your conclusions regarding 5G for industrial and automation at Schneider?
Okay, so first for the conclusion, we are pleased with the first result of this 5G private network implementation for our hoisting application. With 5G communication for the first challenge, which is the radio frequency bandwidth optimization, we will multiply by 3 the number of cranes working in parallel, from 3 cranes to 9 cranes on the same site. So this is a very, very good evolution. And for the second challenge, our calculation shows that we will reduce by 40% the maintenance effort. This is huge. So this year, for the next step, with Capgemini and Qualcomm, we plan to incubate the 5G solution with a customer on a real industrial site. That's the next step.
Thank you, Olivier. And I think that now leads us to a roundtable wrap-up for all of us. And I think one thing that folks out there are very interested in is once 5G is deployed around the hoisting system, what additional digital use cases can make sense? What are your favorite ones? Are there 1 or 2 that come to mind? And we'll start with you, Fotis. What are some of your favorite digital use cases out there?
Yeah, I mean, one that's really, sort of really resonating very well with me, is the preventative maintenance, predictive maintenance, remote maintenance. I think that is an incredible added value for, and fantastically, seeing the actual operation, and maintaining that, but also making people's lives on the shop floor much more easier, to detect problems rather than having everybody right there on the front, and having the experts more or less remotely, and you can see things fantastically with the quality of video. 5G is amazing. I also saw that in healthcare, by the way. So remote predictive maintenance, fantastic. The second one I would call it is critical comms, because really in those environments, I see the applications around critical communications and mission critical applications, basically.
Perfect. I love those. And I think now that gives you an opportunity, Olivier, to share 1 or 2 more use cases that you see out there that are really gaining momentum.
So the first one will be augmented operator. And in particular for the remote assistance. When you have a technician on the floor, very often that's very useful to have a remote assistant from an expert, and that can be done through the 5G because operators on the floor are moving everywhere, and with the cameras, I can show to the expert what is the problem. So this is the first one. And second one is geolocation of assets, because we have this nice future possibility to use the 5G for asset geolocation in indoor environment. And that will be great and solve a lot of problems we have in the factories.
Excellent. Thank you, Olivier. And now we'll turn to you, George, to see what you're seeing out there in terms of, these great use cases that are up and coming.
Well, Ron, I love cutting wires. This is my favorite thing to do. I want to cut a lot more wires on the industrial floor. And I think we showed that we can start doing that. And I want to do a lot more of it. But if I look very nice thing about cutting wires is that you don't have to worry about the use case. The use case is already there. It's working. It's commercial, and you're just making it more flexible, more efficient, as Fotis also mentioned earlier. But in terms of future use case, and there are many of those, and I love the ones that Olivier and Fotis mentioned. I would add maybe drones. I really like drones especially for the larger sites. 5G connected drones that can nowadays they fully autonomously can inspect structural integrity of cranes, bridges, all kinds of things in ports and other environments that are spread out. Even they can monitor the loading and unloading of the end of transportation lines, either again in a port or the output of a factory. So there is a lot of things that 5G connected drones can do in these use cases.
Well, that's just great. I think cutting wires is just a great high note to conclude our conversation today. And with that, thank you everyone for joining us. I think we had an outstanding conversation with some very important takeaways. And with that, have a good day, everyone.